3-second delay, man.
We're fancy.
Not bad.
Good evening. How's everybody? Why am I up in the top left again?
Yeah, who's driving today?
I was wondering.
You are, Ape.
All right, well, then we have to make it official.
Not me.
Executive.
Good
decision.
evening, everybody. I'm not going
Demoted.
to say the date and date the stream because that's a bad thing to do. Today we're here to talk about Flex radios, and we are lucky and fortunate enough to have an esteemed guest, Mike VA3MW from Flex Radio. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing fine. I don't know what I committed to, but I'm sure it'll work out.
We'll let you know.
It's okay because we're not sure either. So
We have to start off by saying Canada's fake. That'll get the whole show tempo.
Right.
No. We're the apartment above the crack party.
That seems
definitely
legitimate.
That I
like
can
that.
agree with.
So you guys don't have any fun?
Those people in
No.
Wisconsin,
We
man.
just say we're sorry a lot.
what,
Bang the broom.
what
on
part of
the
Canada
floor.
are you in?
I'm in Toronto.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I'm actually farther north than you are.
You are. You know what winter is.
I do. It's sitting right
It
outside
is.
my window behind me.
Yeah.
Bless
I
your
grew up
heart.
in Northern Ontario,
Oh.
so I feel for you.
Lionel has a question.
He does. Did he warn you about the dancing?
didn't.
Are you loosened up?
I'm-
You loosened up?
Stretch.
We do a little bit of dancing every now and then. You can abstain if you want.
You've not seen me dance.
Son,
was-
dance.
What you did was better than what Jim did. I mean,
That's right.
Thank you, Lino.
didn't even try. Thank you,
So
Lionel.
I'm not exactly sure what UNTO orchestrated. It looks like his
Nothing.
camera went out on him again. He uses these USB cables he gets at the gas station,
Gas station
and it
USB.
constantly gives him troubles with connectivity.
Troubles.
But I guess we'll start by asking what's going on at Flex. Anything for the big shows coming up, or
Yeah, maybe. I can't say. I'm
Yeah, I
held to
got
see-
it.
They keep me in Canada and say, "Oh, we can't tell you because you're in Canada. You're in a different country. You're not covered by ITAR." So
I thought you were the guy in
what
the
you're
know.
supposed to know.
are you going to Hamcation or Hamvention, any of those, or
I'm planning to be at both.
Oh, nice.
Looking forward to it again. I'd say generally get out of the deep, wet snow here, but it has been so mild here in Toronto that
Yeah.
today it was about 101% fog.
Did you say
humidity
a
all
boot?
day. I did, of
did.
course.
Of course.
Just like the roof.
The roof. And what do you call that dish with the cheese curds and the gravy and
Not anything I eat, but you're
Okay.
talking about poutine.
poutine? Because our other
man.
resident Canadian calls it Putin.
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 yeah? But he are you talking about Molson?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
well, that's funny. Molson's just a company. They make about 100 different beer.
Well, we're talking about
They
a
don't
grumpy
teach the
old
rest of you.
ham who wears
A
black
grumpy old
shirts all the
Canadian.
time and has the camera up
Grumpy is
here like this
correct.
on his head.
Yeah, somehow he got nicknamed Molson, this Canadian ham. So
We should start
that's
calling
his
him
name.
Horton Timmy or something. That'd
Timmy.
be fun.
There you go.
Timmy's.
Timmy.
There you go.
well, I'll tell you what. Then let's talk a little bit about the existing product line. And we'll start, I guess, with the 6400. That's the one I think that everybody towards. Is that your best seller, or or am I crazy there?
Yeah, can we back up just a bit, though? Because we talk about SDR like Band-Aids. And I have a little pitch here, because I actually do a lot of club talks. But if you don't mind. So an SDR is, let's call it a manufacturing technology change. So
Okay.
we started with tubes, right? And now we've gotten through whole components and smaller components. And then we get to things where we do it all in software. And as I jokingly say to everybody that's watching, you all own an SDR radio, and I know, and I'm not watching the chat, so I don't see it. I guess I could. They all do, except for maybe one of them, in your cell phone's an SDR radio.
Yeah.
Okay, so keep of it that way in the technology. But
then
so
everybody
that's why
wants
we
one.
get smaller and we cheaper and we get more performance. But yes, that is probably one of our best-selling radios. It tends up being, it's like the Flex 1500 was. It was the crack to get you into the more expensive radios.
When did
Well, it does quite a bit for I guess technically your entry level radio now, right?
Yeah, but it's a contest grade entry level radio.
Right.
And contrary to popular belief, it's not a $5,000 radio.
I know.
let me back up a second before we start all drooling over the Flex, because I'm going to drool over the Flex too. But
Thanks, Don.
when did SDR radios start easing in and solid state started easing out and tubes? Who cares? But Sorry, I said it, Don. I said it. You suck.
That's a great question. I'll tell it from the Flex story when Gerald Youngblood started the company in the early 2000s, where he had this concept, and I'm going to butcher it. So, Gerald, if you're watching, I apologize. But on his kitchen table, he had this design he came up with. He took it to a meeting, and you can find the talk on YouTube called The Accidental Company, and presented it and thought he was going to make 10 or 20, and then came home with, after a week, had orders for 500.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and with these, we call them direct sampling radios, right? Because we don't have use any mixers and anything, and there's a good reason for that, without getting too much in the weeds, but we can later. So that's about when it really started, and it just really never ever looked back. When I first saw the 3000 and the 5000, when was that? Sometime late, like 2006, 7, 8. Because I'm a real geeky guy, I saw the writing on the wall. I went, yeah, this is the next layer. And of course, we're still building it.
Well, I think it's natural evolution that you're going to continue to see more and more manufacturers continue to adopt SDR, and that's the way to go. Now, you talked a little bit about removing the mixers, and you're doing a direct conversion of the signals that's coming in. Can you talk about that process a little bit and how it's different and what some of the benefits would be?
Certainly. So let's take all the current radios today, sort of like the Yaesu, the FTDX10, that says it's an SDR, which it is, the 7610, the 7300, which is an amazing radio for the money. Don't get me wrong. It's probably the best $1,000 you can spend on HF radio to get started. So in the olden days, we started with a frequency. We had to mix it to get it something where we could do. And if you remember 455 kilohertz, that's where we sort of ended up. So we always filters, we bought 1 or 2 filters. Maybe the radio took 2 or 4, and they were $150 each. But those are the filtering we need. But they had to be at the IF frequency, the intermediate frequency, 455 kilohertz. And there was sometimes a 10.7 and sometimes higher. But all this mixing is noisy. And so it was tough to make a radio that was also quiet and then didn't have images and all this other stuff, because what happens when you mix 2 frequencies?
Well, you get artifacts of those frequencies, right? Like that's why they had to do so much internal filtering on those radios. Drives up
some in the difference.
Right. Drives up the engineering costs and parts and all that stuff.
Sure. Look at the ICOM 7600. What's it weigh? 75 pounds? 10 pounds of it's a power supply, and the other 60 pounds is the stuff they do to make it quiet to get rid of the artifacts. And then as we moved in, but that's why we moved into, when we got to direct sampling, we could take an RTL dongle, and it's, it hears DC to green light, as we say, reasonably well. Wouldn't survive in an HF contest, but what a great, do I wish I had this when I was 15? Absolutely.
They're pretty fun
too.
Yeah. So did I answer your question? But the mixers are, because we get rid of the mixers, we get a quieter radio. We get a radio that can hear deeper into the noise if your noise floor is low enough. But without fail, every customer who gets one of the first time, and you'll probably see this in the chat, said, the first time I turned it on and started to use it, I didn't believe it. I thought it was broken. It was so quiet.
Yeah, we've heard folks say stuff like that before. And SDR is really amazing like that in general, to your point. My first SDR transceiver was a Hermes Light. It was significantly less than the 5,000.
Oh, yeah.
But when I plugged it in, I couldn't, like what you're saying, it was like an epiphany moment where I was like, this is the best sounding radio I've ever heard. Now, granted, I'm not listening through like a single mono speaker and stuff like that. I'm listening through the sound system hooked up to my computer and stuff like that. So it's got some help there, right? Like
yeah, absolutely.
But that's, I think, one of the advantages of the design or the system.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool technology, and it's only going to get better. And if we come up with a new HF mode, I'm going to say this in theory. I'm going to do this a lot, I guess. You could have DMR in an HF radio.
Oh,
you just have to write the waveform for it.
Yes.
There was a comment in the chat from our resident troll who said, "Don't ask him if it does DMR, Jim." I didn't ask.
We don't have to. It does.
But you could write it.
Does.
A couple of guys could get together. If they were smart enough, they could probably write it.
And Flex would support that wholeheartedly, wouldn't they?
Absolutely. We actually have that all open, and we'll help. The big question I get is, how come it doesn't work on Linux? So I'm waiting for that to pop up. Hasn't gotten there yet.
Oh, that's that guy right there.
Ron.
That guy.
Or Windows 7.
I come to the conclusion that there's not any HF hams that are Linux coders, because we have opened the door. We had this conversation earlier.
Yeah, they're not
opened the
really
door
HF
and
hams,
said,
though.
if you want to write a client for a Chromebook or something, knock yourself out. We'll actually help you, because the door to do that is wide open, and we publish
So the APIs are all published.
all the APIs. Yeah, we have a great little video that Anna, one of our very smart developer, and she's a lawyer in her background, wrote on. It's on YouTube, about the initial part of getting into programming, and just some simple commands. They're plain text commands, and pretty slick. You just get carried away.
So one of the things you were talking about is some of the different features, and we do have a resident Flex enthusiast, I guess is the right fanatic. I'm not sure what the right word is, but he's always talking about slices. He's like, my
Yep,
Flex
that was
does
my
2
question.
slices, and then I do a slicer. Can you talk a little bit about that? I was like,
Yeah.
sounds like a pizza or something.
You put the cheddar cheese on top,
Right,
and
nice.
you get slices at the bottom. The slice is part of the radio spectrum. So some radios have the ability to turn on 2, some 4, some 8. So what does that really mean? When we use the Flex, I'll just talk about the Flex. Flex continuously receives from 30 kilohertz to 54 megahertz all the time.
Well,
And then we take it and we turn it into numbers. And there's a little network in there that, believe it or not now, think about the number I'm going to say, produces 3 gigabits of data. 3 gigabits. Most of us only
Right.
have 100 megabit networks, or maybe 1 gig. 3 gigabits of data. It's a lot of data. And we feed that into this very fast processor called a field programmable gate array, FPGA.
FPGA.
And so this is why you can even take the 6400 or 6300. Use 6300 is a great deal. And I could be sitting there, say I've got an antenna like an HF6V multi-band antenna. I could be sitting there on 160 meters, or I could be listening to a baseball game or something on AM, and still be listening to maybe 6 meters or 10 on another slice, because of all the data coming in on the feed line. And that's a big difference from us to some of the others.
So how would that compare from a technical aspect? So like I have a ICOM 7610, and I'm not trying to get an ICOM Flex war. That's not.
No,
what I'm
don't
asking.
worry, that's fine. It's
Well, some people are sensitive about their Yaesus.
I know.
I don't want to point anybody out.
I have a 7300 right here.
There you go. So
Welcome to the
Come on,
club.
how does that compare to something like a 7610 that has 2 VFOs? Because isn't it doing basically the same kind of thing?
You'll have to tell me, Jim, because I've never used a 7610. But can you put 2 receivers on the same antenna, and how much spectrum can you have in between them? Now, if
Yes.
the
yeah,
76
Jim.
Yes, you
It's-
can.
Okay, so then it's sampling the same amount.
Yeah.
The
Well, I
7300
don't. Yeah. I mean, I've
Well,
had
I
it-
don't think
I've
it's
had it
listening.
literally I'm talking on 20 meters, and I have the other VFO tuning around on 40 meters at the same
Good.
time.
Then you can't. It's probably doing the same thing we are.
But you have.
I
no
was under the
slices, so
impression-
I'm limited to 2, and with
Yeah.
Flex, how many slices can you do?
2, 4, or 8, depending on the model.
Okay.
You
the-
pay us
the
more money, you
limitation
get
on
more
that is
slices.
Memory, or is that a
No,
marketing
it's on processor
target
power.
or processor power? Okay.
So the 6300, when it first came out in 2013, would do 2. The 6500 would do 4, but only had 1 spectral capture unit. What's that? Well, that's what we hooked the antenna up to. And then the 6700 had 2 spectral capture units on it, and it behaves like 2 radios, 2 unique radios. So you could have 2 antennas connected, maybe a 6-meter one on antenna 2, and your 8040 trap on antenna 1, and be using them both at the same time.
Okay.
This is a big deal if you're a serious HF contester doing single operator 2 radio. You only need the 1 radio, whereas before you'd have to double up everything.
Right.
In the current inventory today, the 6400 and the M model, and the 6600 and its M model, one of them has 1 SCU, 1 spectral capture unit, and the other one has 2. And so it's like the 6700. So could we build a radio that had 16 slices? Yeah, it's probably just horsepower. Is there enough horsepower in the computer systems inside there's the FPGA, and there's a whole Linux system as well. Can it handle it all? But does it make sense to build it? and could you get money for it? No, maybe not enough to cover development.
But see, it's my understanding the 7610 has 2 receivers, and maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm fine being told that. So it's a little bit different than what you're talking about. And then also the signals that you're processing are coming in the 7610 are coming through your bandpass filtering, right? It's different with the Flex because you're talking about monitoring that entire spectrum, and you can record that too, right? And then go back. You can capture, go back and replay if you want.
You could, if you were, you could capture the IQ stream up to 96, is it 128, 96 kilohertz wide, and in theory, pump it back through like HDSDR or something like that. Never tried it. It should work. The 7610 and bandpass filters. We have bandpass filters in all our radios, but the 6300. But if you need to go outside the bandpass filter, we turn them off. Type of thing. So if you took a single spectral capture unit radio and you had it on 80 and you wanted to go listen to 40. If you flipped onto 40 because you're using a common antenna, then the bandpass filter gets in the way, right? So you got to get rid of it.
Right.
You wouldn't be able to hear anything.
Now you can't do dual transmit a capability that exists there?
No, and this is that's a great question. Every other HF radio I know has maybe a main receiver and a sub receiver, and the main receiver's paired to a transmitter. All of our receivers are like main receivers, and then we virtually move the transmitter around where you need it. So
gotcha.
I'm on 40 right now. Maybe I'm doing the contest is always a great example. We're doing single operator 2 radio on 40 and 80 at the same time. So you're and you could do it in full duplex. I could be calling automated CQ on 80, CQ contest, and dialing around on 40 at the same time on different antennas.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the thing with it. But we just move. Oh, if somebody calls me, I just hit a button on a keyboard. Now my transmitter is assigned to the 40 meter one.
Scooched over to them. Yeah, that is awesome.
So the guys, like the guys that designed it, Steve Hicks, our CTO, N5AC, one really smart, insert adjective, really smart guy. Also a VHFer and a microwave guy. So a lot of the things on
one
the
of those.
back, so like sequencers are on the back, and he used to say that he does a couple of great talks about what got him going here, and it was because everything else was so hammered down and you couldn't do anything with it, and that's why we opened it up as well to be able to do your own thing.
So you said it goes to 54,
Yep.
right? Now, do you guys have a filter at 54 that you can take on and off so nothing above that comes down into it, or does it reject that?
It just that's as far as we sample, except on the 6700, and that'll go up to 2 meters. But I don't know if I can explain that easily enough about how they do it. Yes, that's a great question.
That's a good answer. Witchcraft.
Yeah. My friends think I'm pretty smart until I go to lunch with these guys, and I'm just
Got to know when to hold them.
They're asking me to ask you about CESSB.
Controlled envelope single sideband. Controlled envelope single sideband is a software algorithm that runs in the RF section of the radio, not the audio section, but the actual RF section. It was written by Dave Hirschberger. Oh crap, I'm going to get his call wrong. Anyway, he's done another YouTube talk. I'll look up Dave's call, and you can look for the article in ARRL. And the same answer as Linux, by the way, for Android support.
Ready when you are.
Nobody
Eric.
wants to write it.
Ready when you are.
And what it really does is it gives you more talk power. So it's like a compressor. Dave made it available in the open source where we picked it up, installed it. We optimized it a bit. It's in the Anon, and Elecraft included the algorithm in the K4. And simply put, we're going to go into the weeds here. When we talk about on HF to really watch your mic levels and not overdrive, because the minute you overdrive, the radio has to maintain spectral purity or not square wave, and it starts to clamp down if you get too much audio. That's why it's called an automatic level control. It controls the level. That's why in the PSK 31 days, right, we never had it moving. But traditionally in most superhet radios, it's very easy to overdrive that. So when you overdrive it, something has to happen. and the RF gain, the RF power gets shut down a little bit. It turns out by about 3 dB, and then it's sort of a death loop. And the advantage of controlled envelope single sideband is that it never lets us overdrive the radio. We get to 99.9% modulation. And so do we
That's
really
awesome.
give you more? I sort of jokingly say, do we really give you more talk power, or does everybody else just do it 3 dB worse?
Right.
No, but that's really really interesting to cut it off that way. It's actually pretty cool. I know a lot of folks who do digital modes could use something like that, but
If you,
we'll see.
as you know, if you've been watching on if you watch any Waterfall, and everybody's starting to look really good, right? They've got these nice little verticals,
Right.
But every once in a while, and I know who
That
the bad
guy.
actors are. I know which radios are worst because I listen to some local nets, and then if you amplify it, of course, it just gets wider.
Right.
So the base platform that a Flex runs on is Linux
Internally,
internally. Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a Linux engine in there, yeah, we'll leave it at that. And then the field programmable gate array, which is also programming, which I have no clue what that's about. I had our guy start to explain it, and I lost it in mid-sentence too. But of course, it was a Saturday night in a bar after Dayton, so I have an excuse.
There's a group of guys that run Anons up here, and they probably have some Flexes in that group too. And when you talk to them, did you know that your signal is 3.01? Why? 0.01? Like, I don't really care.
It's a great bench tool. Right?
I
You know what
guess.
you'll know the minute you get a Flex or even an Anon is you will find every birdie in your house that you didn't know you had. RF birdie
That's not
noise.
good.
Sure.
Right.
Well, it's funny because a lot of the guys who are really into those SDR radios will run at 4K wide too. And I love when people get upset over that. What are you trying to show off on the bay? Are you trying to show off with your 4K? And people get all worked up. But if they were transmitting an AM, nobody would care, right?
Okay,
Oh,
pop up
shoot.
the message there from, where'd he go? Cape Cod CNC. I want to show him something.
Oh,
Your
the
OS2 support, yeah.
I thought
Yes.
he was crazy. I was like, son, no,
Oh,
stop it.
no. Because he's going to love me when I
you
show
can
him
run it
I
in
have
the
a
Windows
copy of
part.
Warp right here.
Oh, nice. That's not
Threw
even
mine
Warp
away
4.
a long time ago.
Is that sealed still, Mike?
That looks
No,
sealed.
I actually opened it up, but I used to work for IBM on product support,
Yeah.
so I was trained on internals. I still love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But that's OS 2.3, isn't it?
No, it's, version 3.
Yep.
Yeah, Warp is 3. Yeah.
It's almost like I know what I'm talking about.
But we have a guy at work who made the background of his computer OS2 Warp. And then
Nice.
when everybody was doing all the conference calls and sharing their screens and everything, everybody's like, is that really OS2 Warp? And just having some fun with it.
You were talking about the guys that I'm not a big fan of wide sideband signals, but it's the hobby. I mean, they could easily just be on AM. We will go to 10 kilohertz wide if you want.
Oh, wow. That's something else right there.
Nice.
I
Imagine
know
the
my
data you
radio-
could transmit.
I know my
Yes,
Yaesu will go to
pretty much.
4, but you have to do like a 3-finger salute thing on the panel to make it do that.
The
so.
ICOM only do 3, right? 3, 1, 3, 2.
Yeah.
I think it's 3.1 or 3.2. I can't. I usually don't mess with it too much. But I did get a Sun SDR recently. I'm sorry.
No. You know what? No. Let me put this. Everybody thinks I'm really. I actually do love the product, and I really think it's the right thing. And there's so many things we're probably not going to talk about, but I just love technology. I'm in a ham operator. First, look behind me. Look at all the crap back there.
Right.
And
Hey,
so
Vern.
this pays the bills. And I said I got a 7300 here. I got a 7100 over there in a box that was in the car. I got a whole
Best
box
radio
full of
ever.
handhelds. I'm still 7100. I think I've often said on Ham Radio Workbench that if I had to buy one radio, it might be the 7100.
It checks a lot of boxes.
It just is it the greatest HF radio? No, it's a really good Swiss Army knife though.
So, can we talk a little bit about who your target audience would be for the Flex?
That's funny. I'm wondering if you're reading an email I wrote yesterday to our 10 gig group.
No,
Yeah, he
we're not reading
forwarded
that
it
at
to
all.
me.
No.
Yeah, him and Ape are buddies.
It's been a real eye opener.
view him.
So, bit of my history. I used to manage a amateur radio store in Ontario called Atlantic Ham Radio through the 90s, pre-internet, and we did. There were 2 or 3 stores in Canada. We did about $3 to $4 million a year in sales in the 90s. phone sales, no internet.
Wow.
So, but the hobby's changed hugely, and I'm going to get in trouble for this. But if we, I'm a geek. I solder. I own test equipment and stuff. But we're getting more and more hams that are truly a plug and play operator, and that's just the way they are. So, the radio is great for those that really want to get under the covers. Although I would admit that some of our customers today would be lost in an anon. Because it's such a, if you're a tinkerer, you want to know what's going on. You saw it's a great radio. If I want to play with the bins and try to get the noise blanker working better, knock yourself out. That's great. But we're seeing more and more customers, and this is why ICOM also came up with the 905. They want to take it home, plug it in, hook up an antenna, and get on the air.
Right.
And it's probably the technology's fault that they don't get into under the covers anymore, because it's just impossible. I can't give you a schematic for a flex radio. It wouldn't help anyway, because there's a bunch of chips on it. You don't have the firmware to read,
wired together.
And so the world's going more into the software world, as we're seeing as well. So that's the new toolbox.
It's tough though, because we should be making things that are more serving to their human overlords, and at the same time, every time we do that, we lose a little bit of our own intelligence. My car has a backup camera in it, and people don't know how, people have driven cars that do not have no backup camera, and they don't know how to back up without it. It's just crazy.
Somebody asked
radios? Go ahead.
Hang on. Somebody asked about POTA, by the way, and or even Field Egg. It's a heavy radio to haul around for a POTA, but
you guys had one originally, though, didn't you? Or was that Anon that had the QRP one?
We had the 1500.
The 1500. Now, the difference between your Yaesu, your ICOM, and your Flex and Sun type radios is you actually can go in and do things on the Flex and the Anons and other radios of that type, right? Versus on the ICOMs, the 7300 or the Yaesus, you pretty much just turn the dial. You can't really. I mean, you can change things, but not to the extent that you can do in a Flex or Anon.
Great question. I'm going to throw everybody else under the bus. ICOM, Kenwood. Well, where's Kenwood?
Watch out.
Yaesu, Elecraft. Let's put it on aside. We still get a couple of RS-232 ports in the sound card that we can do something with. Very single-threaded, very peer-to-peer relationship. And so we've grown up using one computer. I have my ham radio computer. It's plugged in my radio. That's it. But when you move to our world, where everything's IP-based, network-based, I can have this computer where I'm running maybe Smart SDR, that's the user client, but maybe over my laptop, I'm logging. Or maybe over in this laptop, I'm running WSJT or Grid Tracker, or because I got a Raspberry Pi on the wall to a big screen, I got Grid Tracker running there, which you can actually do today. But on any, rewind that a bit, on any with WSJT. But my point is, multiple computers or users can access the radio at the same time, like a web server. Imagine web surfing if you only had one user connect to it. It was called a bulletin board system. You had to dial up to it.
Yeah, I saw the Tapper presentation years ago about SDR and the future of SDR, and they were talking exactly what you were saying, is a single centralized, almost like the old days when you had client server computing radio that had clients all over the house that did different things with it, like monitoring something, or maybe you had a whisper station stood up, or you had somebody doing SSB. But they were always talking about that one problem that you were discussing earlier, and that was how you do the multiple transmitting at the same time, and that I think you said use some kind of virtual technology to move it around. But it's definitely cool. And I think that it's not just radio, but it's everything has become simpler and simpler today, right? And that's you get a lot of people call them appliance operators, these hams that want I want to buy an antenna, I want to put it up, I don't want to tune it, I don't know how to tune it, I don't have the equipment to tune it, I want to plug it in my radio, and I want to start making contacts like I saw somebody on YouTube do. And they miss a lot of that. But I do think it's cool that with the SDR radios, there are so many different settings and so many different configuration options that are there that you're kind of forced to learn about those things.
We learned that a lot when we went from Power SDR, which was the software for the 1500, 3000, and 5000. And then when they started to write, before I started with the company, smart SDR, that was my frustration back then. Was I just want the noise blanker to work. And they say, well, you got to play with the bins and the sample rate. And, and I went, no, I just want it to work. Like back then, the noise blanker and my FT101ZD takes out totally different noise than anything else. And then but that's what they went through with the committees we had internally and whatever, was building a radio that when I push the noise blanker, it generally works. And noise, I'm going to get yelled at for this because all noise is different. And as you all live, some noise blankers work better than others. Or I want to change bands and I want to be, where I was. And so yeah, we've had to make it dumber. And I have a funny story. I do some other crap with NHL hockey, and I had to go to Winnipeg the last week, and I go get my rental car. Of course, it was when all this plane stuff's going on. I'm 2 hours late, and they say, "Oh, I didn't think you were showing up." And so we gave away your car. I said, "Well, you have my flight number. Didn't you check it?" Anyway, well, all I got left for the SUV is the Mercedes, but I'll give it to you at the same price.
Nice.
Well, this is cool.
Oh no, I can't do that.
No, yeah, I can't do that. So I get in the car, and 20 minutes. It took me 20 minutes to try to figure out how to put it in drive.
Yep.
I went to reach for the shifter. There's no shifter.
Yeah. It's
They don't even have a place for the key.
No. Well, that was okay. Anyway, we digress. But there was this little lever behind the steering wheel where the windshield wiper goes, and you had to tap it down.
Yep.
20 minutes.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And I wish I'd videoed it because I'm sure I was yelling at the.
Well, my biggest problem is being in the snow out here. I have to figure out all the different ways that you have to, 3 finger salute and press this and scratch your head on the backside in order to turn the traction control off so I can move in the snow. Like,
So
if it was a
you
feature
can drift
that worked,
accordingly?
Sideways.
yeah,
He likes to
if
go
it was a
sideways
feature
in the snow.
that worked, I'd love it. But you have to turn it off every time you want to actually do something? No.
I
no
can do
thanks.
that in my Nissan. I can
Well,
turn it off.
whenever I rent a car, when I return it, I always take the GPS and navigation system and set it to Japanese. And that way,
We figured you did. You're the guy.
the next person gets in there, it's like, Konnichiwa.
That's okay. All my Americans kilometer in Celsius, so that's.
So let me, Mike, a question I have. What is the primary difference between the 6300 and the newer models?
Good question. So the 6300 has one spectral capture unit and 2 slices.
Okay.
The 6400 has the same, but in the 6300 we didn't put any bandpass filters in it, and it was all cost saving. It was to try to keep the price down, entry level radio, and that was $2,700 when it came out in 2013.
Yeah, I'm looking on your website right now. I'm jonesing.
So
poor decisions could be made before the night is over.
You drinking a
this is
pass
like
there,
me on
Jim?
Ham Radio Workbench. I'm usually ordering stuff by the end of this.
Right?
Yeah,
That has actually happened on this show before.
That's how
What's
I
in
got the
that Dr. Pepper
705. I ordered it, picked it up in the morning. And by that time, it's 1 o'clock in the morning because we go on forever. In the 6400, we added the bandpass filters, the 30 dB bandpass filters. So they are really useful for field day or close-in stuff, or maybe your neighbors nearby, or for some other reason you're getting some front-end overload. And the 6600, by the way, takes you to almost 65 dB bandpass filters. You can run full legal 2 kilowatt limit on the other side with the amplifier and not even hear it, unless you're like right at the second harmonic.
Because I'm looking on your website and I see a certified pre-loved 6300 on here right now.
Do we have any in stock?
It says add to cart.
I wouldn't say that out loud
I
because
shouldn't
it's
have told
going
you people. That's right.
Not anymore.
You better buy it right
there's
now.
only- if it's there, there's only one. Let's see.
Wasn't there yesterday. You better get it.
Jim, you don't have any money
Not
for
that
that.
I know.
There's like 4 more radios of mine you have to buy.
I'm not buying any more radios from you. I've got an old Kenwood that works fine. I'm good, man. I don't have a Flex.
So the software is free, and you don't have to pay for a recurring license.
Yeah,
Upgrades
sizzle it.
made-
Sizzle it. You hear that?
well, I'll sizzle it. Major versions of the software, there's a small charge, a couple $100, which is really.
It's got a tuner built in, Jim. Oh, it's out
Now
of stock.
the-
It's out of stock. It's already been
That
already
SDR
done.
control that you used, Jim, that was written.
Look at that smile on his face. He bought
Wasn't
it.
that in cahoots
Trying to
with
hide it.
Yeah, it's I can't remember the guy's name. Marcus Roscosh, I think.
Yeah.
And he
DL8 MER.
Yeah, and he wrote the control program
Not sure
or
what
something
happened
for
there.
Flex.
Am I back?
There you're
No.
back.
No, you're not back.
We didn't notice you were gone.
So he wrote that originally for the Flex World, and then he took it to the ICOM 705, 7610, and
Yeah, 97.
had to skip the 7300. He said it wasn't quite as user friendly to program with.
Well, they have ghettofied
do
the
now,
program. It'll do it over USB now for the 7300 people.
Oh, did he? Okay, I haven't.
Yeah, because there's so many of those people. They're all over the place.
Yeah, he's a pretty smart guy.
Yeah, those people with 7300.
I'm having some trouble
ICOM
here.
hit it out. ICOM hit it out of the park with that radio.
You got us echoing.
What are you doing?
Give me a second
Bob?
here.
It's like playing cards with my brother's kids.
There you go.
Oh, we fixed the problem.
because he's gone. Yeah, he's
I
gone.
muted him. Okay.
Wasn't me.
Woo.
Wasn't me.
Yeah, I was just eyeballing this thing and curious what the major differences were between this and the current. What is the 6400 is the current version?
Right. You know, really not a lot. You would probably not hear the difference if the two were side by side if you're just in a normal urban QPDH. It's also a great radio. The 6300, if you were going to put one in remote, if I was to do my remote over and just keep it thrifty, that's the exact radio I would use, just because of the price point. And, you know, there's no app that takes a feed line and throws it out the window yet for Lightning. So there's
Right.
always that
Yeah.
risk.
Yeah. You know, I have to be honest. I've got a 3000 here from Yaesu, and I've looked at radios to upgrade, and to upgrade I need to go like to a 7610 or a 101, something like that. In my eyes, to get better than what I have. And I checked out the 6400, and I was really surprised that radio is $1,000 less than those, or roughly $1,000 less than both those radios. Oh, I know the question I wanted to ask you. Now, I asked your guys at Pacificon, do I need a computer to run this Flex radio? And he tells me no.
The one
Is that
without knobs
totally-
or buttons?
Is
Yeah.
that total? Yeah. The one
There is
without
an
knobs and
M
buttons.
model,
Yes.
which
So
Which
it's
is awesome.
gives you a front panel control. You can sit it on a picnic table with a battery and an antenna.
Okay, but he said, well, you can run off an iPad. And I'm like,
You can do that
well,
too.
I knew that, but you still have to have a computer for. I'm not going to buy the M model because that one goes up. But you know, the price is
If you,
more than I want.
Well, let's just hypothetically say you could take a 6400, stick it in the back of your truck, and stick an iPad on a RAM mount and operate it.
Okay, because
Okay, so
it doesn't take much to run it then, right?
No,
Really,
no,
right?
it's the thing. Only.
Or are you talking an M model still?
Any of the models actually.
Any of the models? Okay.
So let's
That's-
rewind a bit just to make sure we haven't messed this up for those trying to follow the home game here. The first off, all the processing's done on the radio, unlike the Anon or you had a 3000. You said 5000.
Yeah, mine's just a super head radio.
Oh, okay. If you happen to have the old one, we had to get the computer was half the radio. Now the computer's only 5% of the radio. It's just the
okay.
user interface. So the M models have the Maestro face stuck on the front, and you can just plug it in, turn it on, boot it up, and operate. I have one right here, and I use it for satellite work. And well, I can also hook up a computer to it if I want. The radio's capable of supporting up to 2 different clients actually at the same time. So the Smart SGR, which runs on a PC, I could then have somebody connect to it with an iPad from somewhere else in the world, and then we fight over the transmitter and the antennas.
Right.
But he does his own thing, and I do my own thing. It's really hard to get people past this. What do you mean you can support phone?
Yeah, that's the hard part for me. I'm not a computer person in the first place. I use
Amen.
them because I kind of have to.
I would have never suspected.
You guys never knew
Just
that. Huh?
totally. That's going out on a limb. I didn't know that.
I'm going to jailbreak something one of these days. But anyhow,
It's so precious.
What I like is the non-M, and then you can buy the Maestro, the head unit, I guess, is for lack of the better word, and just take
Yeah, I
that
like
anywhere you want to go.
Okay, so let's attack this before 17 people say I ordered a Maestro 2 years ago and I haven't seen it.
Oh,
But
boy.
oh,
So and I'm going to say worldwide outage. I told you I was going to do this a lot. Worldwide outage. There are still hard problems getting things. Sometimes it's metal.
Sure.
With the Maestro, it's actually got a big display on it, an 8-inch display. The 7610 has a 7. Most people use a 7. And every time we went to build this thing, we wanted to buy a lot of 8-inch Hey, Kyle, how are you? Wanted to build. We want to build a lot. Hey, we'd like to buy 5,000 displays. Oh, we're only going to build 2,000. So,
Of course.
you know, good idea.
That's like our antennas.
Redeveloping it every 2 years.
We can sell 6,000, but I'm only going to make 5,000.
Yeah.
Kids.
One of the other questions I wanted to ask you about was there was folks were asking questions about Node-RED and where that's going, and
Sure.
can we just maybe talk a little bit about some of the automation that you can do with a tool like Node-RED and why you would want to do that? I think you did. We saw our buddy Kyle joined. I think you did a video with him about 2 years ago with your remote station or something like that. I don't know if you want to leave any of that in the story or not.
Well, that's good. You're going to let me practice a pitch I have to do for my contest club. So what is Node-RED? So Node-RED's a software tool developed by IBM that lets people who thought they were programs actually program, to be blunt. It's sort of GUI driven. And like I could program if I did it every day. I'm logical enough. But if you don't do it every day, it's like CW. You'll lose it. So Node-RED's a collection of little boxes to do things. So imagine your shack and you said, hey, if I go to 20 meters, I want this antenna picked and maybe something else to happen. And it's really important sort of in the remote world, I guess, where you want to turn everything on and off. Or I'm building some sort of little remote, but I want to be able to automatically check if the internet's up so I can kill the power to the modem and recycle it, or the router, or I want to turn, all these little automated things that everybody think is cool, but nobody wants to actually write. And that's what Node-RED is. And you have to be sort of a logical thinker. We have a great group on groups.io. It's easy to find. And we're there to actually help people build Node-RED. It runs on a Pi or it runs on Windows. You can control all the GPIO ports on the Pi. I have half a dozen temperature gauges running and a big GUI and stuff. But I built mine in over the period of a year of tinkering. But that's what Node-RED gives you. It's like the Internet of Things for ham radio. But then you can also bring in all the Internet of Things. Like I walk in the door and I tell Alexa I want turn on the ham shack. And Amrad, yeah, you can have your clicky turny things too. We have knobs.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Derek is a serious nerd engineer type. His scope is like a Tech 465. So
you measure the
wheels,
level of
very clicky spinning.
nerdiness with the scope that they use. Is that
yeah,
wheels?
we actually identify each other by our cell.
I'm going to really date myself. Where is this? You're going to be sorry.
Have you got
Boy,
anything
boy,
older than a 410?
Mike is energetic. You see the way he just springs up out of the chair? I
He
mean,
does.
It's because he has a flex
really
radio. He's got time to spare. Gets all his
Ooh,
QSOs done and then goes and makes a sandwich.
Don't
I'm
kick
gonna-
the chair
I'm
out from
gonna,
underneath.
Oldest computer you ever worked on?
You're asking me?
A DEC PDP 1123 in my living room with a
Let's
lac.
ask the crowd. I don't think anybody's going to outdo me.
when you say worked, I mean you mean tinkering with the innards, or do you mean,
Tinkering or employed by, it doesn't really matter. Ordered.
1123.
that's 64, I guess, when I was a kid.
Rookie
or
numbers.
TRS 80. Oh, nah.
Oh, 360. Yeah, Don, I'm trained on 360. And
I
Don
played
will
with a
get this.
360.
And VTAM.
I did too in high school. Yeah.
Until I did VTAM, Don will get this. Until I
They
did
didn't make
VTAM,
those in
I
high
had
school when you were in
hair.
high school.
Oh, 1130s. Look at the System 3 Sunglow. I'm coughing up the code names because I worked at. Okay, how many of them had core memory?
Oh, I love core memory.
Burroughs 3700,
Core
3500.
memory gets me excited.
I think it had
This
core.
one was at I worked on the NORAD computer in North Bay called the Q7, the ANFS Q7.
Do you have a
Had,
presidential pardon for holding that, by the way?
Yeah, 64. I hated core memory. I kept a piece, and that was right before I threw a crowbar through the rest of it.
Sewing.
Because you had to tune it, and it would make you cry.
It looks like a
I had
screen.
64,000
It is.
tubes.
It's a bunch of little toroids, Chuck.
Yep, 4-wire core memory.
Yeah.
My pile of crap here's getting bigger.
There's a kit you can get to make a USB flash drive out of core memory, and it's like a 1 meg
No!
flash drive. Yeah, it's awesome.
This is 2K by
Sewing.
1 bit, so we're not going to get a whole lot on it.
So now he's on the computer looking for it. You
What?
have to get Mike a link.
You're going to buy something.
Oh, the core memory kit? Yeah.
BPM.
done-
Yeah, look at all this stuff. This is all
I done
good.
bought something.
Jim, you bought something?
Yep.
I'm shocked.
Oh,
What was it? What'd you get?
I got the 6300 they had on their site.
It was on.
There was a couple of them there. I was looking, but I'm trying to downsize radios.
I thought you were saying today
Hang on,
this-
hang on.
they couldn't
I'm
I'm
gonna
hold
trying
see
to
if I can-
downsize too, but I guess the couple of Yesus and a Kenwood need to get out the door.
Hang on, I'm gonna go see if I see your order.
Put an extra sticker in there for him. So
I'll get a hat in there for you at minimum. So
Thank you. 31830 is the order number.
Oh, is that what I'm hearing?
boy.
Anybody that buys a Flex today gets a free
yeah,
hat.
shouldn't have
email.
said
I'll get you a hat. So that's
Awesome.
fine. Just email me at mike@flexradio.com.
Will do.
Oh, you live in Alabama.
Yes,
Got
sir.
it.
Fashionable East Pint Lala, Alabama.
That's right.
Pit Lala
right, he's right between the Stuckies and
and the Denny's.
How far- there.
Jim, how
That
far
is
are you
true.
from Huntsville?
About 180, 190 miles.
I was
Something
at
like
the last one before COVID, so maybe I don't know if you walked by and said hi.
No,
we were
I
there.
went to my first Huntsville this past year in August. Now I'll be there this next year too. So I'll be at Hamcation next month. So if you're there, I'll definitely stop by and say hello. Pimpin'.
I may
my
have to go
Flex
to
hat.
Florida twice in 2 weeks. Which one would be Hamcation, and the next one would be the NHL All-Star Game, which is the next weekend.
Yeah, but
No,
that's
the
fun.
All-Star Game's first, the Hamcation is second. Yeah.
That's
I
a
would
lot
just
of
stay
airplane
down there the
for
whole
you.
time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd stay. I'm driving to Orlando. That's like an 8-hour drive from here, so that's doable. If I was where you are, there's no way I could drive. It's like
Somewhere along the way, he's picking me up. We're gonna have a road trip.
3 months.
It's a
Yeah, I'm picking
drinking
up.
game on Josh's.
They may
channel.
never make
I'm
it,
not
actually.
surprised.
Yeah.
I'm picking up Sparky on the way theoretically, and we're gonna hang out together.
Well, if anybody orders tonight or tomorrow, just email me your order number, and I'll get a hat added to your order.
Nice.
There you go. Well, and just
at
to
that.
rewind the conversation, I was asking the target audience, or who do you think your consumer base would they look like? Not
we even get
not chubby hams that sit in chairs all day, but I mean,
Just offended half of our audience. Abe.
What? What's Chubby got to do with it, you big knucklehead?
You offended half of the presenters on the stream. Abe.
Doofus.
but what I meant like who was the target audience for purchasing a Flex radio?
Unfortunately, we have nothing
The
for the
Utes.
tech, so it's an HF radio, and believe it or not, our target. I have a demographic. I've done surveys on it. I'm amazed at how many people that are over 70 that still buy this radio.
Nice.
That's
I've
surprising.
had all sorts of demographics in terms of their background. I've had two mission commanders for Apollo.
Sweet.
You know, and so if you're old enough like me, right, and you watched Apollo in the 70s in black and white and then color,
Yep.
you know, and you got up at
Yep.
3 a.m. because they were doing something. One of them was on.
That was all fake, you know.
I'm gonna It's all fake. Yeah, it was all fake. I'm gonna digress from
I've
it.
been on
but
the set.
he was on the Apollo 13 crew, and he told me a whole bunch of stories about Apollo 13 coming home. It blew me away.
Nice.
Oh,
And,
Lovell and
Tom
oh,
Hanks.
gee.
Hanks,
Kevin
No,
Bacon.
not Tom Hanks. You.
Hey, Kevin Bacon was on that Apollo 13.
He
wasn't
was.
Oh my God. Lovell and
I'm
geez,
not
I
even
can't
gonna
remember the
help
other
you
two
guys.
astronauts' names. I know Lovell. But
And Lieutenant
Not
Dan,
even gonna help you guys.
Lieutenant Dan was trying to help.
he got his legs back.
Mike, we did warn you about squirrels on this show, right? We
Yeah,
did give you the squirrel warning.
That's no different than anywhere else. So,
Right.
but we are having, thanks to the involvement we've done with RHR
Oh,
and
Hamstick
youth
Eric got it.
wells, we've had all sorts. There is no focus. The focus is you're an HF operator.
Gotcha. Stanley Kubrick was the one that was the lead engineer for those missions, wasn't he?
For the filming, yeah. We call that director.
Just kidding. But yeah, I just want to talk about because, like, to be honest, I was a ham for a long time before I ever heard of a Flex radio. But I didn't read QST.
You know what?
at the
That
time
sort of
either.
blows me away because we're pretty visible, but we're not as visible as we think we are. So it was like, I've had people come up in Hamfest and go, "Who are you?" And I went, "Don't you get QST or any
Oh, it's
magazine?"
Flex.
And then, no,
Kind of a big
magazines these
deal.
days?
It says Flex on there. That's right.
but it was an honest, like, holy crap, we have to do more
RHR is
work.
amazing, Eric.
Yeah, RHR's
I
and
knew
Race
a
team are
Flex.
amazing people.
I knew a Flex for quite a few years, but I didn't realize the SDR part of it. I knew it was like a computer-based type radio, but I didn't realize it was. I didn't when I first started hearing about SDRs a couple of years ago. I mean, well, it's been quite a few years ago now, but I didn't understand what it was at first. I looked at some, it's like, okay, and then the 7300 comes out and it kind of gets more mainstream, right? But and all radios, even my older radios have some software defined stuff in them. I mean, as far as there's software to them, it's not like but not firmware. The same. It's firmware.
I was just leaving the whole thing laying there, Steve.
But you know what? We don't care.
I tried to explain that to a friend, and he doesn't get it.
But it's just, that's why I said in the beginning we're just going to talk about a build technology called SDR. Hams, do we care? I mean, the geeks care.
Well, if I'm on
I
Facebook, I care. If I'm on
Right.
Facebook, right? Because that way I won't get in an argument about it.
But we care that we get the RF in from the antenna and something comes out the speaker, or
Right.
FT8 works. That's all we
Right.
care about.
Jason wants to know how to get more detail on the API documentation.
There is actually, Jason, just send me an email, mike@flexradio.com or flex.radio. We have all these domains, and I'll send you the links to it. You can Google it and find it. It's in the open, but I've got a couple of links I can fire over to you, and the video.
We can
so
we
I
can
have a
post
Canon
some
email
links here
for
in
it.
the
sites.
We can drop some links in the chat here if you got something, Mike. Easy enough.
Yeah, let me go get the whole text.
I'm excited.
Talk
What
among
else am I going to
yourselves.
need to buy with this?
Maestro.
Nothing.
You should
Well,
buy
don't hold your breath.
You should buy a nice Yagi and a tower.
Yeah.
I got to
really get everything out
I'm
of it.
good. I'm good.
He has a G5RV 11 feet
think
off the
you're good.
ground.
I
in
do, man. It's
In a
fine.
horizontal V. He should be just fine.
Right. I mean, it's like about a 23-degree angle on that V. That seems legit.
Didn't I hear this conversation already?
You probably did.
Maybe.
Last Saturday.
Who
Same show,
can I
different
send this
time.
to post it? Because
The private chat on the right-hand
Drop
side
it,
of the
yeah.
screen.
Got it. Yep.
Yep.
I use StreamYard a lot, so just can you punt that all somewhere?
Yep. Got it.
Oh, they want to talk about the Flex amp now.
Oh,
Matt's
the
always
amp.
taking it. K9EI is always taking it to the next level.
The amp. The amp's a piece of work. It's just a piece of artistry. It's big, it's heavy, and it will
It's
transmit and listen at the same time.
Wow.
Again, for the SO2R world.
When you say a piece of work in the United States, that doesn't mean quite the same thing, I guess.
Yeah, well, we don't have Trump up here.
What's work?
So you're saying it has full frontal duplex then is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, it divides itself in half, and
Multiplies.
you can
That divides.
you can in this with the radius with the two spectral capture units. You can you hook up one to one side and one to the other, and so you can be transmitting on 40 while you're listening on 20. But if I had two 7300s, I could do the same thing with this amplifier. And I
Oh,
probably
wow.
have a diagram I could show you.
We'd be interested.
Okay, again, talk among yourselves. I have to go find my slides.
So, what was for dinner tonight? I had
Who you asking
Vindaloo- Ape, what's for dinner tonight?
I didn't have dinner yet.
I had a nice
You didn't?
Vindaloo.
And we
Did
ate
you?
dinner.
I did.
I'm thinking about a beef Wellington later.
Oh, yeah, it takes some time, though.
I think we're having some little fillets.
Oh, you were posting pictures of loaves. Didn't you make some bread today? How'd that turn out?
It turned out really well. So I did eat a nice slice of bread with a little bit of Smucker's
Speaking of
Smucker's
slices,
raspberry
you have your own
preserves on
slice.
there. And I thought
Got
that
its
was
own
pretty
slice.
good. So it had two slices, like a flex of the
Yes.
homemade bread.
2 slices.
I had
likes to
a
talk about his
had a big
slices.
lunch today. I went
That
to the
Smucker's
Italian.
grape jelly is 1/3 of the ingredients of chili.
Is it now? I don't put
Yeah.
Smucker's in my
Smucker's grape jelly, Heinz 57 sauce, and a bag of meatballs, and you're all set.
But that's not chili. That's meat. That's sweet and sour meatballs.
I don't know what that is. Some skinny jeans latte sipping wearing thing. That ain't chili.
I didn't say I liked it.
Okay, Jesus
But y'all know
Christ.
what
I
I'm
thought,
talking about.
You ain't staying in my room, son. Not with that kind of attitude.
Would-
No.
Whoa.
Maybe Mike's staying by you. These guys are staying at the La Quinta on Mermaid Avenue
We
in
are, yeah.
Orlando for Hamcation.
Yeah, knock on the door. We're not doing anything that can't be
So
interrupted.
they'll take you to Sizzler for dinner if you're close by.
This looks like Jim's Radio Shack.
We got Ape's
So
credit card.
this is actually Jan's Radio Shack, Sierra Echo 2 X-ray or 3 X-ray rather. And this is what an SO2R station looks like. You notice he's got a 2 TS5. Where's my mouse? 2 TS590s, an amplifier, a whole bunch of cool stuff going on, all required to really exploit single operator 2 radio. Now, In the Flex world, if you drink the Kool-Aid and write the check, it looks like this. And those are all the cables you need except for the power cables. So we have
8
two RF
antennas.
cables connecting
4,
from the
6.
radio to the amplifier to the tuner if you need it, to a 2x8 switch, which means 2 antennas in and up to 8 antennas out that you can share.
Wow.
Oh,
that's
I'm
all
getting
controlled
tingly
over
in
the
my
LAN.
hand parts.
So,
So
you know,
that's
what you need.
whoops,
that all
which do you
gig?
want? This one or this one?
Is that gig Ethernet or 100 meg, Mike?
You know, it's not even very fast. It doesn't need to be. It's 100 megs, plenty fast enough. You're not sharing a whole lot of information, to be honest. Just
Right.
just band information.
You don't even
know.
need a switch, Jim. You can just use a hub.
You could use a hub. You could use Link Local at 169
no.
addresses.
Forget Steve said that.
Collision.
Hub.
Collision. Collision. Collision.
Oops,
Good
this or this.
Well, it's a compelling argument.
That is a great.
And what's the
argument right
price
there.
tag on something like this, Mike?
You're
gonna get a
so you
sticker
got a
shock.
6600 there, M at about just over 4. The amplifier at 7 and a bit. The tuner at 2.5, and another 1,000 for the switch.
So you're looking around 1,500 plus change, right?
15,000.
15,000 plus change.
And then the but is you get rid of all of this, most of it anyway.
Oh, you make your money
And
back right away.
All the no, because it's all old, right? It's not worth anything.
Oh, no, those two Kenwoods,
actually,
they're
and
$600-700 bucks a piece.
Three. This just you get rid of a lot of RFI issues.
Sure.
Yep.
Right.
Anyway. So
Well, look,
that's
he's got that other one's got 3 PCs in the mix.
yeah,
So now, what is that? What all do those use for power? Do those run off a standard 12-volt power supply, or
everything but the amplifier runs off a version of 12,
okay?
and the amplifier, like for full power, needs 230, 240, whatever your high
Yeah.
voltage is.
Okay.
And if anybody would like to donate that to the K-Toads Radio Club for remote operation, my address is P.O. Box 101, Luck, Wisconsin.
No, that is a pretty cool setup there, though.
I'm glad my
this
wife doesn't know what
you're
happens
committed
in
to
these
this hobby at
streams.
this point.
Oh, you're committed, all right.
I should be
But
committed.
you don't have to sit in front of all this hardware. You can actually put it at the base of your tower because Cat 5 is cheaper than LMR 400.
Hell yeah.
Okay, and you can sit and just run some single run of Cat 5 into your, your nice office with the beautiful hardwood desk and the,
3 phases.
the nice chair and the geochron on the wall.
And you can control all this with your Evolve 3 laptop, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, it sounds like
And this is where we're going.
Hawk, they will make an exception for me. The postmistress loves me.
Now I do have a question. Now that I've ordered this radio,
Hold on. You do have 30 days of remorse.
You don't tell him
If
that.
you change your mind, just send it back. We'll give you your money back.
oh no, I'm all in, man. This is Final Jeopardy, and I'm that close. I'm all in.
Jim doesn't even drink, and he bought it. I mean, just
Right.
like
Yeah,
that.
I don't really.
You're going to get 4 more orders later tonight when Ape hits the drinks.
So to drive this, the SDR software, Windows, Mac, Linux,
Windows or Mac.
Windows or Mac? Okay, great.
The Mac is an
No
extra
Linux.
charge because we don't write it. Marcus, the L8MRE, likes to make some money, but the Smart SDR for Windows comes with it for
Okay.
free, included.
That's
2-year
fine.
warranty,
Windows.
by the way.
Excellent. Even though it's a certified though.
But you have like a 2000 or a 2012 version of Mac OS though, right, Jim? Is it gonna?
No, I got a 2012 Mac. I got a 2012 Mac. It's running about a 2019, 2020 version of Mac OS. I got Windows. It's fine.
His Mac's so old it has Roman numerals on the keys.
Yeah.
This is a Mac V. That's right.
Matthew is K90i is asking about Lightning, but you must have missed the talk about the no app to throw the coax out the window.
It's
All you can do is
doable,
just-
though.
Yeah.
I had to do
Couple
that
of
the other
relays.
day for the first time in I don't know how many years.
Disconnect the coax.
Yeah, I hardly ever do. We don't get much lightning here. But
Well, I know there's a lot
did
of
the
things
other
that
night.
she does not need to be.
90
burdened
days
with
unused.
That
We
information.
changed that. Thanks.
90 days on mine because
Yep.
it's certified. That's fine.
But unlike a ham store, in some cases, we give you 30 days where you get to take it home, play with it in your own shack, your own noise, your own remote, and so that gives you a chance to really give it a shakedown. Fiber, by the way, that Todd mentioned is a great idea. If you're running fiber, I should really do that at my cottage because there's about a 200 run. I use Mocha, which is over RG6, 1 gig connection over RG6. So
Yeah, I've got a 1 gigabit. Well, it's all copper. I don't
Eric,
have
you keep
fiber.
asking. We'll get to it right after the stream ends.
I'm running 6 on everything, Cat 6.
yeah, good.
There
Well,
was a
you'll enjoy it.
question about filtering, and I don't know if this is, I just don't know the terminology. He's talking about brick wall filtering or notch filtering compared to other brands.
Sure. So the brick wall filtering is just exactly like it sounds. You can just narrow it down, and one of the greatest measurements of bandpass filtering is CW. How narrow can you go without the CW signal ringing? And you can easily go to 250 hertz wide on a flex radio, and it doesn't ring. In fact, I did it with FT8 whiskey the other night when I worked him on 20 meters. And then notch filtering is phenomenally better because when you set up a notch filter, and HF operators know, okay, I got a notch filter, I got a carrier, and by the time you set it up, the guys stop tuning up his amplifier. Now, we do have an auto notch, but it could be better. Everything could be better. It does work. But let's say you got a constant noise like a birdie in your shack, and it's right there. We have this thing called a tracking notch filter. And in a tracking notch filter, you say, I want to filter right here. And then you can make it as wide or narrow as you want. And it stays on that frequency. So if you move the dial, the notch filter tracks with the heterodyne.
Yeah, I saw that on the Sun SDR that I got, and I was amazed. And I can also put down multiple notches, and I almost fell on the floor. And it had nothing to do with the filters, though. No, I'm just kidding.
The
But
Miller Lite, that was the problem.
It had nothing to do with Miller Lite either.
Yeah.
No.
but
Right.
but I was just amazed that there's the way that you can do those kind of things in an SDR
Jason is
space.
correct.
We'll do another demo. I run virtual Windows, so let me drag this screen over where we can see it. And so show you, if you stop sharing that, or I'll stop sharing that, and I have to reshare. Present a share screen and a window. We're going to share Smart SDR here. Okay, so this is a great example. These are birdies around my remote ham shack. I haven't done this in a while, so this will always fall apart. But here's a birdie.
This is ham nuggets, folks.
See this birdie right here?
Mm-hmm.
And I can pop the audio through, but we don't need it. So I can right-click there, and I can say, create a tracking notch filter. And this is, I don't know why, I know why it's doing this. And I'm going to make it that wide. And then I'm going to make it very deep. And then I'm going to turn them on. And that heterodyne will essentially go away if I dial over it. And what you've watched now, if I change my VFO, okay, you get the idea?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if I went by there, we might still hear it a little bit, but it's not going to be as loud. So let's just assume we were here and we're running a net, okay? And I'm going to make this a bit bigger. And this later blue is our transmit or our receive window. This is where we hear our signals. So sometimes I get to run a net on 80 meters. What I do is I put a tracking notch filter here, and I create another tracking notch filter.
Oh, good idea.
Right here, and I sort of like creating a moat on
Yeah,
either
that's
side
cool.
of my net.
That's sweet. Mm-hmm.
It helps.
Now you're dragging those. Can you drag them past each other, or do they? Oh, awesome! Yeah. So I'd keep a third one a little farther out, and then just pull that puppy right in when somebody gets stupid on top of your net.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was using it for an adjacent signal, and there was overlapping to be able to cut them out. It was really fun to play with. It's definitely a cool technology. I see. Can you actually do some changes with some filter. I guess you don't have a signal coming in, so it's probably a dumb thing to ask.
Well, I
but-
could, and I can get the audio too if we want. Let's go to band 4. Let's go to 40 meters, and let's go to 40 meters.
No, really, 40.
And I was doing some CW, so let's go up into the phone band. And my antenna didn't switch. Hang
Oh, I
on.
love those spots too. That's nice.
Oh yeah. And I was doing about 3 different things. So you see this multiflex here? I've also got my Mac connected in. I think I can't punt them off here. We just have an antenna issue. Just a second. We'll do it this way. There we go.
Oh, there's some signals.
So there's FT8.
Yep. I recognize that.
The
Song of
band's
my people.
dead, but no, there's 700 people on 3 kilohertz.
It's because nobody wants to talk to anybody. Have you talked to anybody lately in public? You don't want to.
Yeah. Okay, so what did you want me to demo?
You're driving. We don't really care.
No, somebody had a question.
Well, we were talking about filtering.
Okay. So this was, let's go to up a lower sideband here. And, we've got, 70-70. That's a Canadian, okay, down at 70-70. Or it could be the European because that's the... Go up here to...
Now,
James
you're
wants to
running
know if
this
this
in a
is your
Windows
remote.
VM. Did you say you're running this a virtual mic?
No, actually, so this is, remember I said I didn't say it this way, but you could do distributed usage stuff. So I'm actually running Smart SDR here on this PC, but the physical radio is 100 miles away.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay, now I should be able to punt the audio through, so just bear with me a second. DAX, not that DAX. Let's kill this DAX here. Punt this into channel 1.
Steve, I smell a couple 3 Nuggets episodes out of this.
I know. As soon as you send that flex up here, we'll get it all set up and piped in and ready to roll.
I'm going to need a security deposit.
I'll just buy my own.
But you are.
Well, it's
I
free
wasn't
hat night. It's free hat night at
this,
Flex.
So
Right.
give me a minute to find out where something is.
And if you order before
Said
the
I'm
end of
running
the 4th
4
inning, you
windows
get
of-
free nachos in the hat.
Get a hat full of nachos.
Now,
I'm
the
running 4
Maestro, you
windows
don't,
at the same time, so hang
you
on a
don't
second.
have to have the Maestro. That just gives you a physical control to the radio. You can drive the whole thing.
Yeah. You know what? I think the perfect mix is the screen, like using a laptop, and then a flex control knob. So I get this
Okay.
great feel for a VFO,
Jim.
but I get this
get
resolution
it.
like we're seeing here, and we get down to 4 hertz per pixel. Okay, so if you want to really see this guy's signal, I mean, we could, we start to really see, and I can speed up the display as well.
Yeah. Bring it out at 991 days.
No, say that's as slow as my 991.
How much that knob is.
I was going to say it first, but Steve beat me to it.
Bear with
Well, I
me.
guess
a
I'll
minute.
be
I'm
ordering a
trying
damn knob,
to,
too.
Cape Cod wants
see
to know
what-
if you can do this on a 4K display.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah,
That's
no
what
problem.
I do 4K. Right now I'm using an ultra wide.
If you see Flex at a Hamfest, you'll see this huge screen set up behind the booth, and it looks just like this, but much more
I
impressive.
wanted to for Dayton, and we weren't able to pull it off in time. I wanted to get a whole video wall.
Nice.
And it just,
Jumbotron.
yeah. Well,
Well, you still have time, right? For
I'm
this
having an
year.
argument with my. That was for the last Dayton. Alrighty, here we go. So let's tune this guy in. He's probably. You think he's on 7185? I doubt he is. Okay, we're gonna bring the audio in.
There he is.
What's that? This happens all the time. Whenever I tune somebody in, I hear.
Oh, this is ham radio, yeah.
Not at all. I have to actually go to this headset.
Take that tuner out.
That guy?
No, he keeps tuning up to the left there.
You guys split the room on me. I'll let you do that.
Maybe he's tuned up now.
Yeah, you're a little off frequency there too.
Probably.
There
I
you
can't.
go.
I'm having problems hearing it. So there you
You're
go.
good now.
Yeah, this is the Old Miss Net, Old Man International Sideband Society, I bet.
Yeah, Roger,
Enough.
Roger, CAT.
Antenna a bit more gain.
Okay, I can do that. This is WA5CAC. System net control, field is 40. We're going to move on to line 16 on north. That's Kilo
Yeah, I've
4,
got a
Golf
Windows
Charlie
machine with
Delta.
a
Gary, you're up
32
your
inch and a
call.
4K TV.
Yeah, it's
on it,
Amanda.
so
Nice.
This is Kilo 4, Golf Charlie Delta.
I'll have it up on that. I'll get it going first.
I'm probably on the wrong 40 meter antenna. I'm probably on the one aimed at Europe. So I have an inverted V. We could say it too. So anyway, you notice that. Let me kill the audio. And I'm. Let's kill the audio. That didn't die, did it?
Yeah.
It did.
Oh,
It's
I
gone.
see why it didn't die. It's funny. I still hear it in my monitor, and I shouldn't. Okay, now it's gone. What was
Jim's
I gonna
hearing
say?
voices right now too. Why did you buy that? What made you buy it?
Oh, I know what I was going to say.
Buy another.
I get people going and they go, well, it's too confusing or I can't figure anything out. The buttons are the same buttons if you went from Kenwood to ICOM to, like you change vendors. Like if you used an ICOM your whole life, you sort of get the infrastructure. Then you buy Kenwood one day and you go, I can't find the RF gain, you know, and or whatever.
Right.
And they're here. You
Exactly
just got to
true.
find them. Or you get in a different car. What happened to the wind? Or you can't drive the Mercedes because you can't get it and
Right.
drive. You know, it's
I totally get
They're
it.
all
That's me. That's me going from Yaesu and buying an Icom, which is supposed to be the easiest radio to use, but it's for me, it's not.
Oh,
They're
Chuck, so
all
many
the
jokes
same.
just teed themselves up in my head right now.
Oh
they're
yeah,
so
yeah,
the
yeah.
same but different.
Right.
They are.
If you've ever-
They are
if you ever
different.
go-
It's what they use. The wording sometimes.
Is that me or you?
Yeah, somebody's back on now.
That's me.
Oh, good, because I thought I killed the audio. So yeah, so that's Smart SDR on Windows. The Mac one looks a little different, but a little same. Marcus to his DL8 MRE has done some amazing integration where you can get FD8 and everything all built in. We Flex Radio don't do that. We leave that to the Windows people. We're trying to focus more on the RF end. But if someone was to write
That's
their own client for Windows, you know, and something else and sell it, maybe because
It's a nice signal.
we see this all the time, right? Where the vendor writes software and it's really good, and somebody who's fully dedicated to one thing may
Right.
do it a little
Write
different.
something better. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
they're
whatever,
asking
yeah.
about AG. Well, they being Don is asking about AGCT.
AGCT. So every radio you've probably used before is something called got an RF gain control, and if you're in the old school world of RF gain, you generally would set your volume at full and use your RF gain as a volume control. And if you do that in the Flex world, the result will be really bad. You won't like it. So what we do in the Flex world, we have this tool. It's right here. It's it's here and over here. But what it does is controls the gain in the front end. But you actually want it quieter than you think. And you'll be surprised if we bring the audio back on. You're not getting. Are you getting it? No, you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
it.
Okay. So let's go over here where the band's quiet, and I can barely hear it in one of my monitors. So if we take the RF gain control and we drag it down here, it's almost like squelch, right? You can sort of hear it. So we're gonna spin that up a bit until it just increases in volume. And I know what number it should be at, but let me know when you hear it go up. Yeah, about there, it went up a little
Yep.
bit. Noticeably,
Yep.
it went up. So that's about the sweet spot. I know that's a little high, but that's where you want to set this. And this is the sweet spot for hearing both weak signals and strong signals without being overwhelmed. But the point is, you notice the background noise isn't okay. Let's say what was that 25. You turn on your Superhet today on this band right now, and it's going to sound like this.
Right.
You can knock the flex down to the gain to about here, and
So-
it sounds quiet. This is the quieter
So-
part people talk about.
So you set your AGC so when somebody quits talking, there's no noise, right?
Yeah, a lot less noise. Correct.
A lot less noise.
And with this, by the way, is I don't know if this is
studying.
lightning across the bottom or not, but these horizontal lines. I'll have to go look at lightning maps. Superhet world, you get a lightning strike. What happens? The needle wraps itself around the right end, right, from the lightning
Sure.
strike. Then it slowly decays, and the next thing you're saying, I'm sorry. The strike took you out. I didn't hear what you had to say. Can you repeat it? Happens all the time. In the we have this fast attack automatic gain control. It attacks really quickly, like milliseconds. So the lightning strike comes through. The gain in the receiver clamps down for the duration of the strike or this long signal, and then immediately releases. So sure, you hear the lightning, but it just sort of sounds like, and you never lose the QSO.
That's awesome.
It is really awesome, and like that guy's, and it's human nature, right? How many things have you bought and going, what were the developers of this thing thinking? Well, because I
It's
get
on
to sit on
user
both
interface,
sides,
yeah.
everything. They don't know what they're doing, and I've sat on both sides of the fence, and our guys know what they're doing, and there's not a whole lot of things that we haven't done that we didn't think of. We may have not implemented it for the 9 other reasons you may not be, familiar with. This would be a cool idea. We just went through this with something, and everybody went, yeah. And then 2 other guys said, yeah, but you're going to break this. Oh, yeah, that's not going to work. So everything's a compromise.
I like the look of that interface. And Marcus wrote SDR control, the Mac/iPad. And I've been using that, I don't know, 6 months, 8
Yeah, about
months.
6 months.
And that's all I use with the 7610 or FT8 or anything else. So the interface on it's just great. And it does more than does some other stuff I haven't even figured out yet.
Yeah, it is pretty slick software.
I've gone over to 80 meters so that we can learn about the latest in medication.
Right? What are the best gout medicines?
Well, you get the the 2023 law change or prescription changes, plan changes, right?
Is that AM right there?
No, that's sideband.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm always risky turning this on. Oh,
Yeah.
Spanish, French. It's
It's
V2
like you got
guys.
It's like you got a 6 kilohertz signal there, though. 4 kilohertz.
Yeah, the AM guys are. There might be some AM guys down
They're
here.
around 7.0.
3770.
I love the way AM looks on a waterfall, though. It's beautiful.
387.
Ever seen the guys
5,
send their call sign?
3870.
Pardon?
Yeah.
Go to,
Yeah.
go to 3870 area. Well, around here anyhow.
There's radio up that high?
Now, Mike, why are the...
You should be able to find a wide one there. Let's see what time it is.
I guess that's just the
Might be a little
signal, the
early.
way it's displaying on the waterfall. The horizontal...
What was your question?
It seems like there's horizontal lines in the waterfall display.
Those could be lightning.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, spark gap generators.
Right. If you're on 80 meters, that's entirely possible.
Well, let's go to lightning maps and have a look. You're
Now, I
familiar
see
with
some
lightning
sparklies,
maps?
but I wasn't talking about...
That's
the-
probably a lightning strike right there.
Yeah.
See this?
There's
right
a lot
here?
of storms today.
Here's a guy with his transmitter down, and for some reason, he's trying to find the best SWR. It looks like. Okay, back and forth. Or maybe he doesn't know he's in transmit. I can't hear anything.
Right. I'm not picking anything up. This dang thing.
Okay, so there's a line of thunderstorms that go from the Gulf in the Panhandle, northeast, southwest, all the way through North
over
Carolina,
Pinlala.
just north of Charlotte, and then into Raleigh. And we've even got some strikes, a couple of strikes up in the Boston area.
Yeah, those were the ones that were here this afternoon.
These ones always laugh me. The other funny thing you'll see with any waterfall, every once in a while, like this guy right here, maybe lightning. But have you ever seen, if you're on waterfalls quite a bit, you'll see the ionosodes go by,
Yeah.
which are used for propagation, and you can see it coming and go, hang on, Phew, there it goes. What's this guy doing? Look at he's been. Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's supposed to be a breather.
Ooh, somebody's
having a
been
stroke.
drinking.
Somebody call his wife. That's a stroke on AM.
Right.
I think I've talked to that guy before.
Well, look how strong his signal is.
He's keyed down.
He's pretty
and not
strong.
talking.
He's what is he? He's probably
5,000 watts.
Come on, Mike. He's 20, 30
Is
over.
he just whistling? Check out the lungs on that guy. He's just whistling into his tuner.
I assume the answer to this is yes, Mike. Can you record a CQ and play it back in smart SDR like a CQ20, CQ20
Sorta.
thing?
We have a built-in WinKey here, so it's better to use another application to do it. So you connect to it like a serial port. But, and the big question too is like remote CW. I can spend a lot of time talking about that. Let's just say we were in CW. We're in CW. Yeah, this is a test, isn't it? I never use this. We have a built-in keyer so that I could actually say, CQ, and hit send.
Wow.
At 26 words a minute, and I could program some F keys to do it. So, which is sort of handy if you're just trying to break, a pile up or something, and you just want to keep an F1, 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 F1. I should do this sometime. Like put my call sign here.
That's handy.
Yeah, Eric, he says they don't have it for SSB.
FN. There's no built-in voice keyer. But because of something called DAX, which is an add-on program, it gives you all these virtual window plugins, connectors. And so, yeah, you could run like N1MM plays beautifully right into it, and anything that's got a voice keyer. Yeah, you should punt up Kyle's comment there.
Where's
What
old
did
Kyle's
Kyle
comment?
say?
He's just up rolling off the top. There you go. Once you start using a waterfall, I hate to say it, you'll probably never go back.
That's kind of funny. One of my buddies down in San Diego, he was, I don't really care how I even have a radio with a band scope. Now he's got every radio that he uses has some type of scope on it now. He loves it now.
Well, I mean, it makes it a million times easier. And you always have
does.
people be like,
Yep.
back in my day, we didn't have no scope. I don't need a scope. It's
Sure,
I don't know.
You miss a lot when you don't have it.
electrons coming off the wires with my ears, boy.
right. No, it's an amazing thing.
The SM230 or what was the Heathkit one? At least you had a little trace.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
A couple of kilohertz. But last night, or 2 nights ago, I worked FT8 Whiskey on CW. It was Tango November 8 Kilo in the Congo on sideband. And I was wondering where to call him. And you can sit there and watch. He's calling here, and everybody's calling here. Well, if you watch really closely, you get to the point where you can see he calls, QRZ, and then the whole band goes up and down. And he goes, hey, the Romeo Zulu, and then the Romeo Zulu answers. You can see the Romeo Zulu answering him. Right, and the timing goes,
gotcha.
and then you know what? You put your transmitter right there with a mouse click, and he goes QRZ, and you give him your call, and you work him because he's going to copy. Having been on the other end of a pileup, they're going to copy the first complete call sign they can hear, or something strong and intelligible.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I'd always heard guys say to dial either a little up or a little down, and you'll break pileups. But that's kind of what you're talking about, right?
Maybe in CW.
Oh,
But in sideband, you want to be, he doesn't. You want to make it easy for the other guy. So if you've ever been on the other end of a
Right.
pileup, you're calling QRZ, and then you're just tuning around, and you're just waiting until you get a call sign you can hear a couple of letters. Certainly not beginning with K or W.
Yeah, well, you're talking about a situation where this guy's operating split because of the differences in the band plan for the ITU regions, right?
Or just even he's rare DX and he's got 1,000 people calling him.
Ah, I got you.
So they'll do that because they'll want you to hear when he's listening and when he's trying to work somebody. It is a very efficient way to work a big pile of people. As you're looking where people are answering him, because that's where you want to transmit next, because before he reaches over and spins the dial. Other than the flex spots and the waterfall. Thanks, Kyle.
DJ9UN right there.
There's one. I had a skimmer.
You had more
CW
on
skimmer
40.
running. Yeah.
Oh, CW skimmer, or do you do FT8 spots also?
Yeah. With WSJT tied into a program called Slice Master, which is another add-on, the spots will show up on the FT8 waterfall. And so not just like the carrier frequency of 074, they're spread out and stacked up, and you can see them all.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that. It might take me a moment, Kyle. Let me stop sharing that. And
Dang it, Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle's helping. Get Kyle to
Helping.
answer Node
You,
Red
you
questions.
guys know that Kyle has a flex.
Probably got a couple.
I
what I've
didn't
heard.
know that. I'd never heard that before.
I've
Never heard that.
I
before.
didn't hear that Don has one either.
Oh, we knew Don had one.
I guess we're gonna have to hear about gyms all the time now too.
Yeah.
Not telling you.
It's
not
kind of like a
sharing.
vegan, right? Like you have to hear about how they're vegan all the time.
We've been listening
out-
to you talk about the Anon. What did you get?
I got a Sun
Sun.
SDR,
The Sun. That's right.
I had one for a while.
You sold it though because it.
and I've been
drifted, right?
relatively quiet about it, to be honest with you.
Yes, you have.
Everybody,
Except
keep
late
your
at
eye
night
out
in Discord,
on.
then you start flapping your jaws about.
Keep your eye out on Toad's Discord for the 7610 sale that is going to happen here the next week
I
or
don't
two.
think. I don't know that.
That's the one you should
That's a
sell.
life choice. No,
Get
there
your
might
money
be
back.
a FT847, an IC706, and a Kenwood 570D going on sale pretty soon.
That's a great
package
radio, the
deal.
570D, by the
I,
way.
It is.
Well,
I was
Steve
really
had it.
impressed
He
with
got it from somewhere and
It
did a
stinks
couple videos on it. And he's trying to downsize for his life as a mobile human without a job or anything. And so I'm helping him. And so I got it. I love it. It seems like a really nice radio. I've
It's solid, man.
got FT8
I-
working on it. Been FT8ing with it the last couple days.
I think flex is the way to go for Steve. He just mounts it in a cabinet someplace with a little fan in there. To
Well,
keep
Steve
it
doesn't even
cool.
have to carry the Flex with him. He just needs his
Leave
internet
it,
hotspot.
leave it back at the club shack.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Bear with
So,
me. I'm,
yeah.
I'm
I don't know
looking
about
at
that.
some other screens. So
That's fine, Mike.
And this one's
We're not
all
trying to run a
remote
show
shit.
or anything, Mike.
No, no.
I
not
hope
at
we
all.
didn't have anybody following us tonight because it is 8:15. If you
There
guys-
wasn't anybody leading us either.
No. It was a
K9EI,
fun night.
I did a video
Everybody
where
was
I
early
showed
tonight for some reason.
that tuner on the inside. It is massive. And it tunes everything. I tuned 160 on my 40 meter DX Commander.
I wish
And
I
made
had
a
tried that on my
contact one by one.
I wish I tried that on my 440.
Yeah, I did some 80 meter FT8 on a DX Commander that doesn't have an 80 meter element on it, and that seemed to work just fine.
Shane's got a good question. I'd say, Shane, it depends on your antenna, but there's a whole lot of variables that go into answering that.
Bear with me.
What do you think, Abe?
Well, I would ask about how is the configuration of the antenna. How high is it off the ground?
Mountains nearby.
Yeah,
Back
I mean,
in a
it's-
second. I just got to walk to another computer.
Okay.
I'm
Can't
telling
do a lot of
you,
walking
this
with
guy
these
Mike is
flexes.
energetic. I mean, he's up and down and all around spinning.
I had to remove him from the stream because he's not wearing pants.
Yeah. I'm glad you noticed that.
He was using the car end fed with the 705. How high off the ground?
Who was?
Shane.
Shane.
The guy with this question about making only close in contacts right after the gray line passes.
No, but you should. Once the gray line passes 40, you should start to open up and open up and open up, and you should be getting out there.
Because what I've done is, in my remote, I run everything remotely when it comes to digital and stuff. I don't send all that information back to me. I just remote desktop to another PC. But if you want to, I guess I need to share this. Sorry. Your screen, window. So Kyle wanted to see the spots working.
Holy moly.
There you go.
So I've
Yeah,
got
that's-
JTDX running on another, at a computer local to the radio. I'll just bring this all over. This is obviously 40 meters. And JTDX will send out what it's hearing, and to Slice Master sends it to the radio. And we see everybody here on the Waterfall on 40, including these two guys that are either really late or really early. These two carriers right here. Let's see if they disappear early or show up early. Oh, there he goes. That guy's early. Now you can be 2.5 seconds off, but yeah, these are the spots Kyle was mentioning. So, and they work with any DX cluster as well, whether it's CW or sideband or something.
Yeah, that's very similar to what SDR control does with 7610 because you can have the
It's
DX
definitely
cluster
cool.
spots and all that.
Yeah, in the 7610 though, you do it on the PC, right? It gets the data from the radio, and I know in the N1MM data it builds it.
Yeah, well, you need to be able to
Yeah.
pull it down off of a network, right? And then you need to be able to obviously display it. So you
Yeah.
couldn't do it. You couldn't do it on the screen of a 7610.
No, not on the screen of the 7610. No. That's not what I'm
But with
saying.
with SDR control, right? Is that the name of the software?
Yeah.
With that, you can do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That is exactly, well, not exactly. It's very similar to what SDR control is showing when you're operating the 7610, 9700, 705.
Yeah,
It's showing
and it's
spots.
it's
Oh,
a good
right,
point.
yeah.
You can't do that without a waterfall.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, that's how we doing it.
Otherwise,
So,
it's just words on a page, man.
Well,
We're
for
gonna do something
FT8,
else here, by the way.
it's awesome because you can see I like the waterfall on SDR control much better than the waterfall in WSJTX. And so it's a lot easier to move my transmit and receive around within the band using SDR control because I know where to go to listen and where to go to talk.
So this probably looks familiar to a lot of people. This is going to roll by pretty quickly. But if you want to know if your receiver's any good, start looking at in the dB how strong some people are. But look and see how weak people are and how close they are to loud people. And if you don't see, actually, we can just turn off the monitor. If we don't see really louds beside really weaks in terms of frequency, so unfortunately it's not sorted in order. But
Right.
in a superhet radio, what happens is with a lot of loud WSJT or FT8 signals, rather, it will actually turn down the gain in the receiver in the front end. That's what the gain control does. This is why they often tell you to turn the AGC off on a superhet radio. We don't necessarily have that problem. You can do it. You can turn the gain controls off and then let the sound card handle the gain. But I think, this is me, that the best of both worlds with the AGC T set correctly. But I have copied incredibly weak signals. Like, what's the weakest we see here? Well, there's a minus 21. And I've seen in some cases where it's 100 hertz away from, a plus 10.
Right. Well, see, I think that's like some of the folks in the chat are saying that well, I can hear down to a certain negative dB. It's not how low you can listen to, but it's how making the distinction between a weak signal next to a strong signal and being able to decode both of them. Correct.
Right. It's the dynamic range.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's called so. And there's the amplifier control panel. So we've just powered up the amp.
Well, that's not.
Yeah,
It turns
I
the
heard
amp
it.
on and off.
Let's not get crazy about that. I don't have
And
a
when you
240.
turn it in
criminal.
standby, it's like putting your TV in, turning your TV off. So it's instant on. But yeah, that's well, and we talked a little bit about Node Red. This is my full control panel for turning power on and off, and I've got about 16. No, I probably have 24 relays scattered all over the property, doing different things.
Can you control your coffee machine with that too, or?
If I drank coffee. Hey, there's
I
a
guess I'm
box
gonna
at the
have-
bottom of the tower. It's 10 Celsius inside, and I know that it's but 0 Celsius outside, and that's just kept warm by the power supply for the stepper and the rotator.
I guess I'm gonna have to start watching Kyle's Node Red videos now.
Yeah, Kyle's just not another pretty face.
No, he's not.
He's not, you're right.
So there you go.
Yeah,
A bit of overload on Smart SDR.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. It was definitely cool.
Very cool.
Oh, I'm glad to help. Glad to be here. We do a lot of club talks too, or no, there's no we. I do a lot of club talk.
The face
About
of
one or
flex.
two a week. So lately, it's the Australian ones that get tough when I have to get up at 6:30 in the morning, and then look
Yeah,
like
you have to get
awake.
tomorrow, right?
I have to get up
tomorrow morning. Yeah. I need to start doing some Australian streams again. They're fun.
Hayden, Ham Radio DX, he's going to be streaming every Sunday night, our time, I think, moving forward, speaking Australian streams.
Like our normal time, or like after we go to bed in the middle of the night?
No, I did it last week with him, and it
Oh,
was
that one, okay.
I think we were 5 Central.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, different day though.
He's going to do Sunday. It's early Monday morning for him. But I think that's probably going to wind it down. We should probably think about shutting down the stream.
Yeah, Don has a
Yeah.
good point to help us wind it down. There's so much that we haven't covered, and to that end, we're going to have Mike back on the show a couple more times, and we're going to try and build some more knowledge in ourselves about Flex and learn about why Flex is as good of a radio as it is, or why it might be the radio for you. So that's definitely coming up.
Yeah, and we can even just talk about ham radio stuff. And one of the big things I'd love to talk about, okay, we've seen the radio now. Remember I mentioned it's like a web server. We can do a lot of different things. And once you get your head around that little bit, then all of a sudden the next aha light comes on going, oh, let's get away from the fact. I do a whole talk on the death of the RS-232 port. Because I can't
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't know what that was. Yeah.
Should be dead.
No, we're looking forward to hearing it.
I just bought one. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I see emails in my inbox from people who bought, where's my hat? So
Where's my hat?
Right.
Bunch of
James
movies.
wants to know if
Did-
you can talk at his Hamfest in
Did
September.
they buy a radio? No.
yeah, anybody wants me to talk, just drop me an email at I'm going to be a slightly different email address, info@flexradio.com. That way my boss sees it and she knows I'm actually working for a living.
Wait, Joe, see all the
Well-
stuff I'm doing?
And they can just tune in here too. Be almost the same thing.
But we do, and I'll do talks. I have a couple different talks, depending on. And my talk is just about HF radio, and that this radio is not your dad's old HF radio. Where the technology is gone, and while it's really flex centered, we're starting to see the same thing. We saw it in ICOM, we're seeing it in Yaesu, and who knows what's going on with Kenwood. So and we know what Elecraft's
That's
doing.
a
All
good
great
question.
radios.
Well, it is a good time to be a ham. There's a ton of great radios out there. For
Yeah, I
us
don't
to
think you
play
can
with.
buy a
too
bad
much.
radio.
It's awesome.
yeah.
Well, the Zygu 6100. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
Exactly.
I was gonna no. The 6100 is.
He's got one. Look.
I got one. It's over there.
See,
It's
awesome.
I gotta
maybe
word
the
this carefully.
G106.
It's going to be really cool someday. It has its moments.
About the time they
It really
discontinue
does
it.
have its moments, but I had
I
to
think
order
if you're a
it.
guy like T.O. who, he jailbroke his and all that stuff, if you can have that kind of stuff, that would be a really cool radio to have. That's just, it's above my pay grade.
And,
But
and that's the vision I saw with it too, especially
Yeah.
when you figure out the super secret root password. 1, 2, 3.
Oh yeah,
Super.
we did. Steve is
1, 2, 3,
the,
4. Everybody uses 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
yeah, that's my pin for my ATM card.
Heard ya. Or monkey.
Yeah.
Monkey's pretty popular.
Yes, it is.
Password.
So thanks again, Mike. We really appreciate having you
Yes,
on. It was
very
a
much.
lot of fun and very eye-opening. So appreciate that. With that, I'm going to click the end broadcast button, and it's going to be awkward for about 10 seconds until it actually ends.
You just stick around.